How are we doing, Kansas Jayhawks fans? This is your host, Nick Rondeau, bringing at you Jayhawks Daily content. And we've got an episode for you today that's non traditional. It is, I always go after we had a game Saturday, we'll recap it, star player, how's it going to look for the next game. That's going to happen. But first and foremost, I had to rant. Like many of you, disaster struck Saturday night when the news came out. Bill Self in the post-game comments. Headline reads, Darren Peterson will not be with the team for the immediate future. And I am like many of you, but this is my time to rant, and this is your time to listen. Now, I've had a lot of opinions about this. This is speaking as a large Joel Embiid fan. This is speaking as a basketball fan, a purist. But when you see an update like that, I can't have one positive feeling go throughout my body. I like this team. I think all the guys, they gel together. They've got a rhythm. They've got an identity defensively. They're talented at basketball. And yeah, sure, they may lack a couple of areas. And they could definitely need to, kind of ride off the coattails of a star player. But seeing the update that Darren Peterson will not be with the team for the immediate future has me angry. It has me upset. And honestly, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. I don't think anyone does. And I'm not. I hope I'm not the outlet that people are going to say, what's the update? What does Nick really know? I have looked into this extensively. I have looked into every possibility. I've looked into, opting out. I've looked into everything. And all I can see is that Darren Peterson might be a little selfish. He might be. And I'm not going to turn on him. No, I'm not going to turn on him. We are 2 weeks into a season. There are 30-plus games in a season. You hope for 40. And you're going to tell me just because early on in the first 5 to 10, my star player doesn't want to risk him getting injured, I should turn on him just because he doesn't want to play a couple of extra basketball games? I mean, that he's, supposed to play. I would significantly rather have him healthy for literally the entirety of the 2026 portion of our season. He could miss the rest of this 2025 year. Just going to 2026, that new calendar year, Big 12 play, and I'm fine. I genuinely don't care. Yeah, sure, maybe we'll drop a couple extra games. But if Darren Peterson is fully healthy, this team is an actual contender. I mean, a legitimate contender. Someone that the Big 12, that the entire country should be on watch for. But I don't know. And you may say, Nick, did you watch Darren Peterson's YouTube video that dropped shortly before the news? Because Friday afternoon, post when my pod came out, we were looking at KU News. We were like, oh, dang, Ethan Taylor chose Michigan State. That's unfortunate, but we've got Davion Atkins. And then you say, wait, Darren Peterson's probably already not going to play. He woke up, his hamstring's not feeling good today. The game's tomorrow, but okay, he probably won't play. So we know that Friday night. And then Saturday, a YouTube video drops, and it's Darren Peterson's. He's starting a YouTube. Good for him. Me too. Talent sees talent, Darren. And we look at it, and it says, this team is great. This team will do fine without me for a little bit, but we're going to win together. I love the Jayhawks. And then this happens. And then Bill says the immediate future. What does that mean, Bill? What does it mean? Sorry for your ears. What does it mean? I don't know. I've never been more frustrated in my life. Darren Peterson, are you going to play? Darren Peterson, are you just going to coast and do you want draft stock? Because I'll give you a hint. The only thing I'll say that's going well for Kansas Jayhawks fans right now is that A.J. DeBonsa's playing lights out. Caleb Wilson, lights out. Koa Pete, lights out. Every other freshman in the freaking country is dominating right now for their team. So if anybody, is in the circle of Darren Peterson, just in case. You can slip this to him and just say, don't worry. That number 1 pick, that number 2 pick, that number 3 pick, they're not looking such a lock right now. I know you're amazing, but if I'm an NBA GM, all you had to do was go to a school for 10 months. You didn't even have to go to class. You barely have to practice because you're so talented. All you have to do is play in 30 games. And I know there's people out. Kyrie Irving broke his wrist. He only played 6 games for Duke. Still goes one of the top picks in the draft. Yeah, he broke his hand. He didn't have a bum hamstring. So I'm sorry. If I'm a GM, which I'm not, surprising, I don't think I'm going to be super thrilled that this guy said, I know I love the Jayhawks. No, yeah, I'm going to be here for 1 season. My hamstring kind of hurts. I don't want to play, coach. My tummy hurts, Bill. I don't think I can play. I don't think they're going to be too thrilled. I don't think they're going to say, you know what, this guy Caleb Wilson, he's definitely not as talented, but he played all those games. There's too much tread on the tires. Oh yeah, let's look at DeBonsa. Oh yeah, he's same conference. Oh, and he's busting his ass and not getting injured. I'm sorry, Darren Peterson, you better play. If you're healthy, you better play because no GM there's got to be one. Yeah, you're going to get taken. You're probably going to ruin your draft stock. You think you're going to stay locked top 3. This class is playing way too well. It just is. So thank you, everyone, for going to your respective teams and playing hard. That's great. I love that. I love this. Nothing more than the same from our star player. And maybe he comes back next week and, everything's fine. Who knows? I just don't know. Who knows? Nobody knows. Bill knows. Darren knows. But Bill's immediate future. But I had to go on this rant just because is Darren Peterson going to play again this season? I don't know. But why is it? Is it load management off a hamstring injury? No, load management with guy like Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard. It is because their knee had bad procedures. They got to wait on it because you never know. It could flare up. A hamstring is not load management. That is, I'm sorry, I don't want to help the team, or I got better things waiting. Yeah, we know you got greener pastures, Darren. You even know that. Everyone's known that. All you said was, I'm going to come to hoop for 10 months. Then hoop for 10 months. Okay? Hoop for 10 months. Play your heart out. I don't even care if you... No, I do care if you quit on the team. But still, just play for the team. Just play for the team. Rant over. Over to the game. I have now shredded my game time. But still, I had to. Okay, to the recap. This was a fun game, and it was because it was Bill Self back in his element. And I think, honestly, maybe a little bit of the Darren trickled into him. He was like, I am freaking pissed. And so Bill did what Bill did best. Within the first 5 minutes, Wilder Evers comes in. The shortest leashes of all time were shown. Everyone made a mistake. You came out. Cole Rosario was playing well. Another great offensive rebounding performance. Great defensively. One mistake, see ya. And, it's just funny. Wilder Evers doesn't, I don't think, ever come in before, 3 minutes to go. And he's like, you know what? And he played fine. He didn't do anything particularly well. He didn't do anything wrong, though. And that's what Bill likes because it sparks the guy that you sit. And he did that with everybody. The bench was going quick. Samis was in early, all this. And, it was tough to see because genuinely it was a lackadaisical effort early on defending from 3-point. We knew they were going to live and die by the 3, and as you can see from the score, 76-57, they died. They hucked him up. They didn't stop trying to huck him up because that's what they do. That is Princeton's game plan, and it did make sense for them. They were somewhat effective for all. They took 35 threes. Within the first 5 minutes, they were on pace to shoot 50 plus. They slowed down a little bit because the defense was there. The defense genuinely helped out. They played pretty excellent, I would say, for the rest of the game. A pretty solid second-half performance. But, again, even later in the second half is when they took off. And a lot of it's just because the threes weren't falling for us. It was another, that was another bad, three-point effort. 5 of 21 from 3. Just not the way you want to go. But got to give flowers where flowers is due. Flory Badunga played well. The rest of the team played excellent. This is the identity that we figured we would see without Darren Peterson. And who knows how these guys are feeling. Who knows how they're feeling about the whole situation. Even the question the other day to Cole last week, like earlier in the week, seemed odd. It was like, do you know if Darren's going to play? Well, I don't know. And now thinking back, tinfoil cap, you're like, wait a second, did Cole already know that like Darren's just kind of like giving up on them? Like I don't know. That's the thing. It's just really we don't know what the situation is, but at least you got to look around and say who played well. A couple of people played really well. Flory missed one shot from the field. Gotta love that. Who had a great game? Trey White had a great game. He played excellent. Cole had a couple of threes. That was big for the team. And his threes are looking a lot closer. And that was the thing. Early on, it looked like there were big misses. They were well over. They were well short, hitting the side of the backboard. Now they're not. Now they're not looking like Princeton's, end of the first half type threes, where that day Davis was just throwing them from everywhere, hitting like corner of the backboard. I mean, that's what they were doing. They had to. They lived and died by the three, and they just it dried up. It dried up because the defense stepped up. Just excellent defense from this team. Flory switching on to everybody, being tenacious as ever, doing his best. Bryson Tiller, even in his biggest minutes, his first start. Didn't go the way he wanted offensively, but defensively he was stepping up. He was running around. He was playing, physical. He had a steal. He had a block. It's good to see everyone kind of gelling. Everyone was covering for each other. Melvin played hard. Defensively, you got to give your flowers to this team because in the second half they really stepped up. They forced a lot of turnovers, but you also got to look at them back and you say, we also had a lot of turnovers. 21 turnovers in the game. It was not a pretty game by any means. It was a let's pull away late. We're the better team, and let's give the ball to Flory Badunga and just let him shine. And so, speaking of that, we got to shout out my guy Flory. And he played like the former Mr. Indiana. It was unbelievable performance, and Flory Badunga finished with his right hand. He finished with his right hand. How many times have we seen that? I'm going to say it. Never. I have never seen him finish with his right hand. He did it on such an athletic finish. I mean, all of these plays he was making were incredibly athletic. They were securing the position, getting great body control, quick left hook, finishing it on the right. I mean, even his passing was great. When they started to collapse with the double team, he was finding the cross, outlet pass over to a three-point shooter. Not that they pulled the three-point shot, but it opens you up. They dribble a drive, then they find a cutter, then they find a shooter. Flory Badunga played out of his mind, and this was still not even his. I think it was his third or fourth double-double in his career, and it makes sense. The guy barely played last year because Hunter Dickinson was in there. He barely got extended minutes to get 10 rebounds or 10 points. He got it. He got it this game with a beautiful 25-point performance, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks. It was excellent. It was fun to watch Flory Badunga truly come into himself. It was enjoyable, but you got to look at the rest of the team who really played, well beside him. Melvin, his shots were going in a little bit better, 4 of 11 from the field. Still can improve in that department for sure. Like I said, Trey White was a little bit more reliable. El Marco was not exactly all there offensively. He was a good defensive presence. He was a rebounder again. He was a helper, elsewhere. But at the end of the day, it was pretty, it was pretty Flory or bust. Not many other individuals significantly contributed. Trey White, 18 points. Excellent performance, 8 rebounds. He played his butt off. And there were a lot of poked steals. There were a lot of blocks. They were stepping up as a team. We love to see it because now we kind of get into it. What is the identity of this team without Darren Peterson? Because we know we got Duke. We have Duke tomorrow. I don't know if you know, but I know, and we all know we've got Duke tomorrow. Darren Peterson doesn't know because he's too busy with something else. So what is this season's outlook without Darren Peterson? I mean, middle of the Big 12 is kind of where we were before. We were in the top half. We'd probably be middle, drop down maybe 8th, 9th. Who knows, even 10th in the Big 12? It's a tough conference. It's an incredibly tough conference. And did we ever think Trey White and Melvin Council were going to actually have to step up to be 15-plus point scorers a game? I don't know. Flory can kind of do it unless they realize they can just collapse. Like this is against Princeton, who is a shorter lineup against a Houston, a Texas Tech, a BYU, and Arizona. I don't think they're going to let Flory Badunga have 25 points. You're going to have to score from elsewhere. You can't go 5 of 21 from three. This team doesn't have a consistent three-point shot there. The only thing this team does have is they can rebound. They all work together. They play hard defensively, but this team needs Darren Peterson desperately. And I'm not ruling the season out with Darren Peterson. I'm ruling out tomorrow with Duke without Darren Peterson. I'd like to keep that game close. It might be difficult too, but it's just, what is this season without Darren? It's a lie. That's what that is. We were told you're going to hoop here for 10 months. You hooped here for 10 days. Thanks for the exhibition, and then thanks for a game, 2 games. This team will be interesting to see what their identity is without Darren Peterson, if it's for the long term. However, I'm not giving up on him. Darren, it's early on in the season. Take care of your body. I understand. Be safe with it. Because if you really do want to play basketball in college, you really want to help out this team, then you have to be at your healthiest. And I completely agree. But we need you. We need you at some point. Because this team was built to have a star like you shine with a bunch of great role players right next to you, with an excellent big guy to work a two-man game, with a good couple of shooters to pass to, with some hard-nosed defensive rebounders, and a couple of extra, plug-and-play guys. This team was built for it, and we'll see if we'll have them. We'll see if we'll ever have them again. Because it was fun to watch him play basketball. It was awesome. The guy is a very talented basketball player. Now it's time to see if he's going to be a talented basketball player in a Jayhawks uniform for the rest of the season. So, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate, taking the ride with me, the raw emotions, the feelings. Let's not turn on Darren yet, guys. Let's not turn on him yet, because there's no reason to, because I have not heard the words out of his mouth or a representative saying, I will not be playing for the Kansas Jayhawks for the remainder of the season. I will be focusing on the NBA draft. When those words are spoken, that's when we can make a statement. But until then, I'm backing my guy. I'm backing our guy that we need, because we all want a good end to this season, and it involves him. It needs him. So, thank you guys again. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Keep them nice. Keep them nicer, maybe. But, I just appreciate you guys for tuning in. So, great game against Princeton. Sorry I didn't go into as much detail as typical. Obviously, things got derailed, but just, it's an interesting season. Thank you guys ever so much, and rock chalk. Go Jayhawks.